Did you get my late work for the last presentation? No, we don't accept late work. Actually, yes, I did. It's approved. Changed my mind. Okay, just so you know, if you're staying to hang out for the Last of Us talk today, or if you're gonna watch it on YouTube, I tried to make this week's conversation and breakdown a little bit lighter. Felt like we had an opportunity to do that. So yeah, maybe we'll just like, you know, have a nice kind of like easy discussion, not so emotional today. It's been really emotional. So this was a good episode to like maybe have a little bit of fun with. Thoughts? Let me know. I definitely cried during the episode, but I feel like in my review and like going through the episode and finding stuff to talk about, I was like, I can like make this a little bit lighter. I don't need this to be super heavy. We can go that route every week if we wanted, but I felt like we kind of needed to chill this week. Can we start off Last of Us talk by saying how Tommy looking kind of lucky Maria, huh? Here we have it. Episode 6. It's titled Kin. Oh, you like that font, huh? We got a new font. We got a new layout. I splurged, okay? I got Canva Pro. All right. I felt like we had officially kind of moved into a new chapter of the game / story / show. I love the rabbit. The ode to that very iconic shot in the game. I also loved how, so like the episode starts, they replay that little, like a clip from the last scene, a clip from them leaving, and then bam, it's winter 3 months later. And again, it was like we were right back in the game. That quick little fast forward into winter. In the show, we get that little scene where they're having the burial outside of the motel, right? They needed that. But yeah, big episode for the gamers. I love the way you put that. So we have the season fast forward. It's winter now, okay? They have the shot of the rabbit honoring the game. You have a lot of interactions between Ellie and Joel this episode that are more relaxed than they've ever been. They feel like they're becoming true companions. Their guards are down. They're shooting the shit. It's nice. It feels like we're getting there. There was a big moment. There's a lot of big, this is Joel's episode for sure. There was a few big moments for him that kind of give a little peek as to like what's going on in his head. And I feel like we're really brought into the Joel POV this episode, what it's like for him, what the world looks like, what things make him react, how things make him react, and what he sees. We're looking through his eyes very much this episode. But we also see a moment of kind of unexpected disappointment when he reaches his brother. I guess for those people who hadn't seen the game or played the game or know what happens, they're expecting this reunion to be this grand thing, and it was just not that. Which we know if we played the game, but it was also like really well portrayed in the show. I liked that a lot. So yeah, big episode for Joel. We'll get to that. We will get to that. The scene with the couple in the woods. Marlon, his name's Marlon, I think. They were great. I loved this scene. Again, I felt like in a lot of the scenes throughout this episode, there was levity. There was like a chance to like focus on those moments and have a little laughter. Like what a great casting job this was. They were so great. Their chemistry together was so perfect too. When he does the old Joel, like, you better tell me the same answer, and then he asks his, I'm assuming his wife, and he's like, did you tell him the truth? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, did you tell me the truth? And she's like, yeah. The whole thing, and then just periodic laughter and their interactions together. It was good. It was good. Okay. The amount of effort put into the traveling shots, Ellie and Joel walking on horseback and just talking as they cross the country, was worth it, and felt like it provided the same feeling of the many in-game levels of dialogue in these same settings. So there were a lot of these traveling shots. Like they went ham. And I'm sure it was probably for the director of photography and those behind the camera, just, it was probably fun. They're in like one of the most beautiful places on earth. You're looking at these like range of Canadian mountains, and you have these landscapes to shoot at, and it's just stunning. So they probably got carried away, and I honestly don't think it was a bad thing. I think some people might view that as being like, okay, like enough already. But they really went in with these kind of interlude shots, which I liked. These little mini scenes, you know what they're called, like just like a shot of them walking in the distance and then a tiny little conversation about nothing. I just felt like that was so the game. That was so the game. When it got to Banff, I know, I saw that too, and I was like, I can't believe it. It was such a cool location that they turned Jackson into, which we'll get to. I mean, look at these mountains, just the appreciation shot here. Loved this. Loved this. Okay, so we get to see a new side of Joel. We haven't seen a lot of other emotions from Joel other than frustration, anger. You've seen a little peek into his fears, but this whole episode is like, wow, my man's is struggling. He's having panic attacks. He freezes up. He's showing his fears. He's in pain, and he's incredibly vulnerable, like the whole episode. I mention it later, but my God, Pedro acted his ass off this episode. It was so good. All the way from the beginning, the first scene, when they're telling him about the river of death, and Ellie says, "You're not going to scare us," and she's like, "I scared him," and then it looks, and that's the shot of his face, and you're like, holy shit. He's supposed to be the one who's like not scared of literally anything. He's the brave rescue man, but he's like terrified, and then he's terrified here, and then he's terrified here, and he's having these moments of like real vulnerability. This scene was incredible. I couldn't believe how well he acted this scene. I kind of fast forwarded a little bit to get to this shot. I'm a little disjointed, but how do you not get emotional watching this? It's like so good. Oh man. And like, you know that Joel's in pain. You know that he's dealt with loss, but you don't see this in the game, which is, it was like them having these new tools at the disposal of the TV show, like Pedro Pascal, and using them to like enrich the story. This was such a hard scene to watch, having him talk about this and be so vulnerable and be so sad. And he's finally in a place where he can trust someone to let it all out. Like his brother. It's like the last person on earth that he feels like he for sure can just like trust. And he just lets it out, and it's powerful. Really powerful scene. Wow. Whew. Yeah, wow. Some of my favorite shots from the first kind of half of the episode, although the bottom two are not from the first half, so I don't know what I'm even saying. I love the composition of this shot right here, where Ellie's standing up on this boulder looking at the moon, and Joel's down below looking at the fire, and it's completely split. We have one half of her looking up in outer space and the other half of him looking up at her, and it's just like, I love this shot. It's super dark. I wish it was a little bit easier to see, but it was very cool. And you have the overhead shots at the bridge. Stunning. This shot, love it. I died laughing at this part. Dude, you could tell. This was the first like episode where you saw them like interacting, how they interact in like their interviews and shit, where they're just laughing at each other. They're just goofing. They're just new boot goofing together. And it was nice. Everybody loved contractors. His face. Yeah, this was funny. I really like this. I like this little tiny moment. I was literally, my jaw dropped when I saw this shot. I said, oh my God. I was trying to like think about how a shot like this comes into existence. And the way I could best maybe assume is you have the director of photography imagining something like this, or maybe just the director, I don't know. And you're like, okay, I want this like epic shot with them on horseback looking directly into the sun right before the sun sets, and how they go about obtaining the shot, which is, to be perfectly honest, likely waiting around for an entire day and then having a window of maybe 90 seconds to capture it. I was blown away by this shot. This is such an insane composition, and I loved it. I just felt so so good. So good. I could just like stare at this. I want this as my wallpaper. Not on my phone. I want it on my walls on a repeated grid-like fashion. I want it all over my house. Literally make it my wallpaper. Someone said it earlier in chat, this was a big episode for gamers. This is what I'm talking about. There was a lot of really accurate visual depictions of scenes from the game. You have the dam, you have Jackson, you have this iconic scene, and then you have this shot of him falling off the horse, the old shimmer. Why he fall off? Bruh. Okay, hold on. Can we talk about Jackson? Can we talk about, don't read the next slide. Can we talk about how Jackson appears early? In the game, in part 1, we are arriving at the dam, and you get through the dam, and then like attached to the back of the dam, there's this little like compound. It's like a mechanical station for the dam. It's nothing like Jackson, right? It's just this little compound, but it's gated, and they have their little society in there. That's where we reunite with Tommy and Maria. Jackson doesn't appear till part 2. So we jumped into the timelines kind of meshed here, which I loved it. But it was different. It was very different. Jackson appears the way it is in part 2 in part 1, or in the timeline of part 1, I should say. And then you see Tommy and Joel reuniting in the town of Jackson, and that was a moment for sure. I felt like you rolling up into like, okay, so there was a lot of like there was a lot of subtext with Jackson, right? Because when you watch the episode, you're like, oh, they made it to this safe place. There's this society, they have food, shelter, people, trustworthy people. You're not in danger every corner that you walk through like they have been up until this point. So it's like, okay, that's a dub. But there's a lot of subtext in that. Joel, looking for someone to save his brother, he gets there and his brother doesn't need saving at all. His brother's fine. His brother's doing really well. His brother's doing 10 times better than he's doing. Not only that, but his brother is now with Maria, who Joel, in the game and in the show, Joel butts heads with because Maria sees this bad side of Tommy as a product of being Joel's brother. And in the show, rather, it is right in your face. They really run with that. And I think it goes along with this episode feeling like we're in Joel's POV. They make you kind of see this town and the way the people in this town, i.e. Maria, make you feel if you were Joel. Because they don't make Maria look good. She's the bad guy. She has got like her eye on Joel, like sussed. She's even not having super likable scenes with Ellie. So like they do a very, I think, intentional thing in making you not like Maria. But I think the way it felt for me was they were putting us in Joel's shoes because that's how Joel sees her. And that's how Joel has seen her this whole time. And so if you're Tommy, if you're watching this from Tommy's view, she looks a lot different. And I just wanted to say the actor who played Maria, absolutely wonderful. And I love the casting choice. I love the representation. I love how she depicted this character in a real non-video game sense. I rewatched that part of the game, and it's meeting Maria in the first part is very brief. And I like how they expanded on it with this version of Maria. So yeah, that's kind of my take on the Jackson appearance in part 1, season 1. I mean, we got our Dina sighting. It's gotta be, right? I mean, I even looked, Staring Girl. Why the fuck would she have a credit if she's not Dina? Staring Girl, that's her. That's literally her, that's Dina. Staring Girl. Something I noticed, this was Ellie's first kind of, after Joel and Tommy have that embrace, it cuts to Ellie and this is what she looks like. Is this it? He found his brother? I'm not his priority anymore. He just like was so excited to see his brother. He probably doesn't even care about me anymore. I don't know, I like the shot. There was a lot of angles to the Jackson scenes, man. Really well done. So I want to talk about the scene in the bar with Joel and Tommy talking. The episode's titled Kin, and I think the story of this episode did a great job of highlighting the complications that come with family that everyone in the world can relate to. And like specifically here, you have this like moment of anticipation and excitement for Joel in seeing a family member after a long time. He hasn't seen Tommy in a long time. He doesn't know if he's okay. He misses him. He loves him. And also, another thing is like during moments of absence, you remember good things. Your memory is like filled with the good memories. So for Joel, all he's thinking about is his brother and how much he loves him and all the good times they had and all of the moments where they had each other's backs. Are you making fun of my spelling, bro? I'm talking here. Jeez. Then he gets there and it's not that way. It's very like dose of reality in his face. It's like the dynamics change. It's not just like your little brother anymore. He's got his own thing going on and he hasn't really been thinking about you. And it felt so real. Felt so real to have that moment of anticipation for family and to see someone be like kind of ruined. I don't know. I just think I have a brother and I always find myself feeling a lot of things in scenes, you know, in shows and games with brothers and good real relationships between brothers. And I felt like this was really, really good because you have this moment in the bar where they're like kind of butting heads and Joel feels hurt. He feels really hurt that Tommy would move on like this and that he would not be excited to help him out. And he's taking it so personally while Tommy is literally just trying to dedicate himself to Maria. And then you have a scene later on that night where Joel's like, okay, like I need to open up because as much as I'm hurt, like you're my blood. That's it. And so he opens up to him and that's that like unbelievable emotional scene with Joel in that little workshop. I just really loved how they made these scenes feel, you know, they made them feel very real. So I liked that. And I thought that it was very on theme for an episode titled Kin. I talked about this earlier, I touched on it, but this is something Tommy says, a bad reputation doesn't mean you're bad. There's a lot of shots of her looking at Joel just like this. Yeah, we kind of see Maria differently. We see her more how Joel sees her. And actually in the game, that little switch up at the end when Joel decides he's actually going to take Ellie. First of all, in the game, it was his decision where he's like, he hops on the horse with Ellie and he's like, oh, your wife scares me a bit. In the show, it's not like that. But that line is very much present here in this episode. Side eye, yeah. This part made me laugh. Oh shit. When the communism hits. This part had me dead. Why did they make him look so silly? It was so funny. She's like, nope, that's exactly what this is. We're communists. Oh shit. This was really good. Tommy, you little communist. Oh man, that was really funny. Pay your respects, chat. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm gonna get kind of real for a second, chat. I'm gonna talk about like real life for a second. Okay. We're talking about, this is a show, make-believe universe, make-believe characters. Okay. But I just wanted to say this. Okay. Because we get Joel, who previously was a murderous, terrible man. That's not like an opinion. That's what he was. He killed people. He decided the law was for him to take into his own hands. A lot of them were innocent. He did what he had to do to survive. These are all like the justifications for his behavior, right? And within the context of the show, I'm not talking about thirst trap fan cams of Pedro Pascal on TikTok. I'm talking about like within the context of the show, we are rooting for Joel, right? So if people are able to take that character who had done what he had done to all the people he had done them to, and give him a chance at redemption, because we're like looking at him, we're like, okay, this guy, he's hurting. He needs a second chance. He's in pain. He's got people he's lost. Now he's trying to make it right. He's turned over a new leaf. How is it so hard to take that same level of understanding into real life? Just like a 10% of it, a fraction of that understanding for people in real life. Maybe there's something to learn here. I don't know. I didn't create the show. I'm just sitting here on my stream talking about it. But maybe there's something that as a society we can like learn a little bit here. If we can give this man a redemption arc, why are we so quick to shut that same redemption arc down for like everyone, everywhere, all the time, every single day? I don't know. Just a thought. Moving on. I agree that the world is very gray. I say that all the time. There's nuance to everything. Okay, so this scene. Oh, I'm so stupid. It's a menstrual cup. Okay, so today I learned. Okay, let me just, let's scoot on past that one then. Diva cup? Oh my God. Today I learned. All right, chat, thank you for helping me learn. All right, so we were watching that scene last night and without talking about it, hold on. Jenna says, was this in the game? And I said, I don't think so. And then we moved on. And then I wrote that. So it's not Maria's fault for assuming she'd know. No, it's Maria's fault for assuming I'd know. Everyone stop texting so much. Okay, no one's texting, it's chat. Oh, Jenna's gonna love that. All right, everything's fine. I apologize. Wow, a leaflet? Yeah, I saw the leaflet. I couldn't read it. Okay, all right. Stay focused. We have to stay focused. Moving on, I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee and hopefully stop sweating. This is Ellie in Maria and Tommy's house learning about Sarah because she says, I'm sorry about your kids. Chat, don't say that. Don't say baby plunger. Jesus Christ. Okay, some of the terms that y'all are putting in chat right now, I don't even think I can say. Okay, so here, this is some lore that we can distract ourselves with. So this is the scene where they're in the movie theater. And I looked it up because I was curious. Because there's a couple characters in the movie that they're watching that you can, one's name is Elliot. One's name is Lucy. So I literally looked it up and I was like, oh fuck, what is this movie? And the movie is called The Goodbye Girl. And I looked up the Wikipedia for this movie. Look at this plot. The dancer and divorcee Paula McFadden and her 10-year-old daughter Lucy live in a Manhattan apartment with her married boyfriend Tony DeForest. Coming home from shopping, Paula finds Tony gone as he'd suddenly deserted her to travel to Italy for a film role. Prior to his departure and unbeknownst to Paula, Tony sublet the apartment to Elliot Garfield, a neurotic but sweet aspiring actor from Chicago who shows up in the middle of the night expecting to move in. Paula, who's a demanding, cynical, and neurotic, makes it clear from the start she doesn't like Elliot. They argue. There's a lot of similar kind of like themes here when you read through this plot. I haven't seen the actual movie, so I could watch the movie. But I was just like skimming through the Wikipedia page, and then I found this. Elliot asked Paula to restring his prized guitar. I also don't know like how much of, like what if this was one of Neil Druckmann's inspirations for these characters way back in the day, because this is an old movie. Is that possible? I haven't listened to the podcast yet. Maybe he'll talk about it. But this feels like if there was a movie that influenced these characters in some way, it might have been this one. Anyway, I thought this was cool. Like, nothing really feels like it's ever on accident in this show. I'm excited to listen to the podcast. As I mentioned last week, I'm holding off on listening to the podcast until after the presentations because I want my own thoughts to be like my presentations, because I don't want I want to kind of test myself a little bit, you know? This is a shot of Ellie ratting around. Such a little rata. Absolute rata behavior. Also for like a ratting shot, this is a really nice shot. Really liked it. She's just looking for drama. Okay, a W scene. Can we get some W's in the chat for this scene? Please. I rewatched the game scene after this, and I watched this scene, and then I watched the game scene, and I was like, wait a minute. They're the same picture. They really know when to keep it true you know, to not really take too many creative liberties. And this was a good example of that. They were like, nope, this scene is too iconic. We got to keep it the same. It was great. 07, Pedro better win some award for this episode. My God. These are some of my favorite shots from the last like third of the episode. Also some of my favorite like video game shots. A lot of these are just basically taken right out of the game. I much prefer this outcome, by the way. Him getting stabbed by this like rusty, I don't know, baton, than him falling 2 stories out of a building and being impaled. Like this was way more palatable. And oh, was it a baseball bat? Okay, whatever. Like it was much easier to watch. It did feel more realistic too. Cause I remember the first time I watched that scene in game and I'm like, no shot he survives. Like what? Literally no shot anyone survives falling that far onto this like giant. Justice for Frank's flannel. Bro, he's literally dying. Can you not focus on the wardrobe here? To be fair, it's a nice shirt. Was a nice shirt. I can't wait till like phase 2 of Ellie, where she's actually just like murking everybody. And she's got her arm tatted up. She's gonna be so scary, but this was cool. Bro's an autopilot. He's got a hole in his chest. She's like, I got this. Not just this shot and this moment, because this shot and this moment was very, very powerful, but I felt like this whole episode was the most that Bella has felt like Ellie this whole series. Not even close. Not even close. There were certain moments where I was just like looking at the screen and I was like, how did I ever see Ellie as anyone else? It was just so good. So wow, you know? I really feel like the characters are just becoming the characters. They're just them. So, I mean, I think there was a lot to commend for this episode. The writing was really good. Cinematography was great, but I really do feel like the acting this episode stole the show between the 2 lead actors. They really, really carried. And moving forward to next week, we get... Hold on. Ellie backstory. Ellie backstory next week. I can't believe it. We get like new lore. And we get the Left Behind. I believe that's all gonna be next week. The Riley storyline. I'm ready to have my mind blown for like those shots in the mall because it already looks so beautiful brought to life in the trailer. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. Oh, the end. Tune in next week for another episode of Last of Us Talk with me, knowing everything about everything. TikTok time? I don't know if you're ready for it. Okay, I think this actually might start a new tradition of having TikToks at the end of every presentation. I'm not sorry about that TikTok, by the way.